Welcome to Sled Talk, where we like to talk about everything snowmobiling, from some of the national things, new products, spend a little time talking about vintage sleds and all that sort of good stuff. I'm Rob Reed,
I'm Steve Glass.
and welcome to Sled Talk. So last week, Steve, we spent a little bit of time talking about Arctic
Yes.
and where they are and what's going on, and
Right.
some of the struggles that they're having and some of the issues that are going on in the industry. And, I made the comment that there's only two major manufacturers left. And then I did a little research and found out that there is a third one out there, maybe more. So we're going to focus a little bit this week on Lynx snowmobiles. And what people don't know, or maybe they don't know, is
I had no idea how long they were around.
how long have they been around?
Since 1968.
All right. And when did the first production sleds hit the snow?
1970.
Very good. Wow, you did do some research. Good for you.
I didn't. I honestly, that's a huge history. Like,
Yeah.
not many brands have lasted at that kind of time. That's like a Skidoo history, like a Polaris history, like a, even though they are kind of a BRP.
Yeah, they are now, but they weren't then.
Yeah.
And when they got started, they started off as more of a utilitarian type of
Yeah.
sled, where, I think a lot of guys were using them to herd their reindeer and things around Finland. And they primarily stayed in Europe.
Yeah.
But they got into the racing circuit.
They did won a snowcross in '83.
Wow.
Yeah. And then actually, apparently, were very successful in it.
Yeah, from what I read, they've had a really good run of snowmobiles of every level, from trail to racing to cross country to, they had a very good presence out there in the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, they made some sort of a partnership with BRP. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about that?
Nothing. I can't find any information on it other than they're building them on BRP chassis and using BRP motors and built and sold by BRP, but I don't know when or how, anywhere.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything other than sometime in the 90s something happened.
Yeah.
And like you say, all of what you said is correct. But they are using the Lynx suspensions.
Lynx rear suspensions, yeah.
Yeah, and they were named after the original founder, aren't they?
They are. I can't remember his name, but it's called a PPS rear suspension, and those were his initials.
Right, and that makes it a pretty robust suspension. I understand that
They said it's built for rougher conditions.
Yeah.
Stronger and built for rougher conditions. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But interesting to have them join the market. They finally entered the North American market in 2021. Mm-hmm. And bold move, considering we were in the throes of COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I've seen a few on the trails. Not many, but I've seen a few.
Yeah, they're out there. Well, I guess if you go to BRP dealers, they are selling Lynx as well as the regular Ski-Doos.
I guess so. I haven't been in a dealer in a long time.
No?
No,
Probably. We'll make a road trip one day.
we'll have to.
Yeah, for sure. But, the downside, and what we talked about with Arctic last show, was the cost of snowmobiles. And, there isn't a Lynx out there that's under $20,000.
No, they showed 4 models, and they were all 21,000 and up, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, pretty tough to become an entry-level sport. We talked about this and the need for more snowmobiles that allow people to join the sport. And I'll say the high-end sleds that we enjoy riding, that a lot of people enjoy riding, certainly have their place, and I don't want to see them go away. But there has to be something that allows the family to get out and ride. And I'm going to say Polaris took a little shot at it years ago with the IQ, similar to what my daughter has.
Right. No
And
frills.
No
decals.
No decals.
And they just didn't really catch on because people want fancier stuff or something. But
Yeah, but I mean,
no, it was a good idea.
Dropping.
Yeah, it was a good idea though.
And it's funny because a lot of people deckled them up, and that's actually what we did this year. Was we took her sled and put a bunch of decals on it, and a nice wrap on it. Looks really cool.
That's what they said when they came out with them. They said people can customize them however they want and make them their own. Mm-hmm. But you didn't. I don't know.
Did you think that they just didn't give it enough of a shot?
So they promote the high-end machines and they kind of make it so that everybody wants to be the fastest and have the best. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what drives the market. I don't know.
But there's opportunities, like we said, on the last episode there, for families to get to a warm-up shack, roast up some hot dogs, have a hot chocolate, spend a day out on the trails, having a ball.
It seems to be happening less and less. But I'll tell you something kind of neat. Mm-hmm. There's a local poker derby that used to happen. Remember how Inwood had their 2 poker derbies?
Right, yep.
They had their big one on the Groom Trail, which would be just like us going out riding on our fast machines. And it was from like hotel to hotel kind of thing, no real sitting around talking or nothing.
Yeah.
And then they had their little non-trail pass route through the bush going to like hot dog roasts.
Right.
And every time you stopped at one, all the sleds were lined up and you talked to everybody. And I saw people pulling cat cutters with kids in them in that one. It was a real family event. And I remember us telling them that we really, really liked that poker derby because it was like the old poker derbies.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But how many clubs do that anymore? Poker derbies are all 100 miles long now.
Right.
Because you can go that fast on your new sleds.
Well, and you're right. You wonder, is it worthwhile for a club to run 2 derbies like the Inland Club did? You know?
I think so, man. Did it draw some cool old sleds out?
Yeah.
The last time I was on that derby, there was some really neat old machines on it.
Well, and people stand around and talk about them. You know, there's lots of questions, lots of conversation.
Every check stop was just in the bush, so all the sleds were parked outside.
Yeah.
You were just walking around. You didn't just go sit at a table somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was like all the neat machines that guys don't want to put the big expensive trail passes on. All the old Articats and the Panthers, and I think it was a Panther pulling a cat cutter that day we were out, and you don't see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the old TXs and Colts.
Right, so that would be the people who would be buying entry-level snowmobiles,
Yep.
going on fun afternoons, but the clubs all promote these 100-mile, 200-mile poker derby rides to bars and things.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's absolutely a place for that. I certainly don't
Yeah,
want to
no,
take
no, there
away
is.
from those type
Absolutely.
of rides. But I think there probably is room for both.
It would be nice if they promoted a little more family stuff, smaller rides. Our old poker derbies back in the day were all 50, 60 miles.
Yeah. But those sleds, I mean, that's
Oh, I know, I know. It would be boring to go out on your rev or whatever and go for 60 miles and you'd be done in an hour and go home. But
pretty much, yeah. But
a little off topic there.
yeah, a little off topic, but not. You know what? That's the whole point. We're talking sleds, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So coming up in February, I'm going to start with February 8th. What's February 8th, Steve?
The day of the week or the event?
Well, it's a Saturday. What's the event?
Free park and trail ride?
It's free trail ride.
Okay.
Now, for the month of February, it's free park. So that means getting into the park passes with your vehicle for free for all of February. But on February 8th, you can go onto any of the provincial trails without a trail pass and give them a little test drive, see how you enjoy riding.
All of the snowman trails?
All the snowman trails.
I can take out a vintage sled this coming up weekend?
You can.
Okay.
Trouble-free. Worry-free. Enjoy yourself.
I'm gonna.
It's an opportunity for people to get out and enjoy the trails and do it in a way that, like you said, you can experiment, you can try. You can go, geez, I really enjoyed this. Maybe I should buy that trail pass. And as we talked about in the last episode, that trail pass money does come back to the clubs. It does come back for trail enhancement and makes our riding experience that much better. But there's opportunities, as you said, for people to get off the trail and enjoy themselves. So this is just, again, another opportunity to create awareness and some fun.
We have to have a trail pass talk one day.
We could easily have a talk about that sort of stuff. So February 8th, you do not need a trail pass. And for the month of February, you can get into any provincial park without a park pass on your vehicle. Let's talk about some vintage stuff, Steve. I mean, that's kind of somewhere where our hearts often lie. Back in the day, we rode a lot of sleds with cleats. You know, Articats had a lot of cleats. Polaris.
Yep.
Yeah. The old TXs and Colts and things like that.
Nothing worse than being on a ride and all of a sudden you got a cleat whack in your tunnel.
Oh, yeah. Bent.
Half off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to stop and try and rip it off without tearing your track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we ever get out there with the cold chisel and the hammer and the...
Outside in the winter, not in a garage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had to change an entire Polaris Colt track, every single cleat. I think it's like 32 cleats or something.
Yeah.
Outside in the snow because my brother wouldn't let me in the garage.
Yeah. And, you know, you think about it, too. This was steel rivets because aluminum just didn't hold them on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we had forearms like
Unless
Popeye.
you were lucky and got a sled where somebody had upgraded to the little screw-on ones. The little, remember those at all?
Not really, no.
They were. It was like a rivet head, but it had a nut, and I've had a few sleds back in the day with those.
Yeah.
It was exciting because you could just unzing them all and put new ones on instead of trying to hammer off all those rivets. And
I was fortunate. Most of my sleds had rubber tracks, so I didn't really live with that much.
right,
But, you know, at the same time, you know, you and I were talking earlier about studs. and what's going on with studs on tracks these days. I don't know. Back, I'll say in the 90s when we were doing a lot of riding, you saw a lot of studs and studded tracks and things like that. But now tracks, or trails, I should say, have become so much better. I don't know.
Tracks.
So have tracks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, we don't have a 3/4 inch lug track and thinking that's the greatest thing.
You're right.
You know, and now you've got your one, your 1.25 inches, your
super
2-inch paddles if you need something like that in Manitoba.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Are studs as big a deal as they once were?
Most of the sleds that roll into my shop that have picks on them are older sleds still.
Yeah.
None of them, not so much the newer ones. I've picked a few tracks, but that's mostly for people ice fishing, where they're just on the glare ice.
Yeah. Well, I can see on the glare ice where that would be handy, but I mean, that's the rarity these days because the trails are so nice. I know I was on the Red River a couple of weeks ago doing a ride with, with my daughter and another friend of ours, and you'd hit the odd patch of glare ice. And, I've been riding long enough that I don't have an issue with that, but I would get off that glare and look around over my shoulder to make sure my daughter wasn't going sideways.
Yeah, picks would be really good for that. For sure.
Absolutely. But do you see as much?
No, I don't see as much. Not at all, no. And I've actually, when I bought my last Rev, it had a massive number of picks in it, and I rode that sled for a few years like that. And then when I changed tracks, I just put in a new 1.25 ripsaw. And I really didn't notice any handling difference for the kind of riding I do. Like I wouldn't go back to picking a track. It's just too easy for them to tear out and wreck your track.
Right.
People will argue with this all day because if you got picks, you want,
Yeah, you want to defend your picks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All they do is destroy my floor in here.
Okay, so they're they're not welcome in
They're
Performance
not
Supply.
too welcome, no.
And we're joking, of course. But some of the other stuff that we dealt with back in the day, the wear bars.
Yeah.
I mean, as kids, we weren't buying, the carbide wear bars with 4, 5, 6 inches, sometimes carbide at both ends.
We couldn't necessarily get carbides for the old machines back then.
Yeah. Couldn't get them, couldn't afford them.
Couldn't afford them.
Yeah, because we were just kids and living on our paper route money.
We were lucky if we had one good wear bar.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, one. Yeah, you're not kidding. And often what we did, and I had that, it was a 73 Olympic, and the thing wouldn't turn. Like it was a straight line machine, and I don't mean straight line fast. I mean, it just didn't turn.
Big parking lot to get it to go around in a circle.
You betcha. Or you're just jumping off and kicking the back end around. Unfortunately, they didn't weigh anything.
It's true.
When we were young and strong back then. So we could pick up a little snowmobile and kick it around. But you know what? We would buy those ski spreaders from Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
And so not only did these sleds become a little less tippy, because they were really narrow sleds.
I just put a pair of those on my 72 TNT.
Wow.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Good old Canadian Tire still taking care of us. The other thing they did too is give us a little more lift on the front, which really meant putting more weight on the skis so the wear bars could bite in a little bit better.
Yeah.
But, again, as we were young guys and not always at the top of our maintenance as we are today, I remember basically breaking a ski. The wear bar had worn through, the ski was getting pretty thin, it broke, and stopped at, a grandparents' farm. My uncle goes over to the swather, just a swather belt that was laying on the garage floor, took 2 of the bars off the swather, and we welded them to the bottom of the skis. Now, the problem we ran into, of course, is these things were almost 2 feet long of carbon steel. So they weren't breaking, they weren't bending, and they were like a pair of ice skates, 2 blades on each one. So unless you were moving, there was no turning that thing.
Not your best handling.
No, not for cornering.
No.
Straight line, it was great.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff that we've done over the years, right? And some of the crazy things that we played with, some because we just dealt with what we had.
And where do you buy parts back then? Other than going to a dealer. But I mean, you weren't just going and buying aftermarket parts.
Well, there certainly wasn't a lot of aftermarket. I mean, but in those days there was a bunch of manufacturers, and
That's true.
Canadian Tire, for what it's worth,
Yes.
usually had a pretty good variety of parts.
They did.
And if they didn't have it, they would order it.
Yeah, that's true.
So
They still got some stuff.
yeah, but you're right. The aftermarket that is out there now certainly trumps anything we had.
My catalog's 1,500 pages.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of stuff available.
Yeah, there
now,
is, yeah.
Which just wasn't out. Like nobody did it back then.
No.
Yeah, for sure. Steve, have you got a tech tip for us?
Tech tip, yes. Carb boots. I just want to say how important it is to check your condition of your carb boots, at least in the spring when you're cleaning your carbs, you're doing whatever you're doing to your carburetors. If they get torn like this one is, where you can see through it, that cylinder is going to suck a ton of air in, and it's going to lean out and melt the piston. And the rubber gets bad on them, and they start to crack, or they delaminate off the backing, and this $35 part can cause $800 to $900 worth of damage to a motor.
Yep.
So at least once a year, you should have a good look at your carb boots.
And for some people, that blown motor is the end of their season.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely, yeah.
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 You know, and other areas, like you talk about how that leans out the motor, and you know, air getting in anywhere, whether it's bad motor seals or crank seals, yeah. That's
or even just a dirty carburetor, lean out a motor. But
for sure,
this is an easy one for anyone to check at home themselves, and just make sure the carb boots are in good shape and change them if they're starting to crack.
Well, this one's pretty obvious. You know, you can really see the separation there.
That one peeled apart really badly.
Something people should be looking for, an easy way to do this, Steve? You know, if you're at home and you're not a great mechanic, but you want to do a little bit on your own.
Just move the carburetor around like that. Doesn't look too bad.
No, it doesn't.
But if you push down on the carburetor, you'd open up the crack at the front.
Oh yeah, look at that, eh?
And see that it's going to suck air through there.
Yep.
And this one's covered in silicone too, so I have a feeling somebody knew it was starting to crack.
Yep.
Don't silicone your carb boots.
Yeah, you know what? I get it. A tube of silicone is a lot cheaper than a $35 carb boot, but it is also the cheap way to a blown motor.
Yeah, this is when we're doing pre-seasons. One thing we check. We're pulling the carbs off to clean them anyways, so have a really good look at the carb boots and make sure they're not cracking. And the aftermarket ones don't seem to last quite as long as the OEM ones. So if you've got aftermarket ones in there, it's really a good idea to at least once a year have a good look at them.
So you mentioned springtime to check them. Is that the best time, or is kind of the preseason that you're doing in the fall before the snow flies?
I did say spring, didn't I?
You did say spring. That's why I'm questioning on
yeah.
that.
Okay, spring makes not a lot of sense.
Okay.
Fall.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes.
Okay.
I mean, check them in the spring.
Why not, right?
Sure, before you put it away.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's face it, the season's winding up. You still want a reason to play with your snowmobile, right?
And then you'll know if you need order parts for the fall.
Yep.
But yeah, check them in the fall before you get your sled out. And if they're even a little bit questionable, just check them a couple more times throughout the riding season and make sure they're not getting too bad.
Yeah, great tip. Great tip, yeah. So check those carb boots because that is critical.
Yep.
Mission critical, you might say.
Yeah, could cost you a lot of money.
Yeah. How about products, Steve?
Chain case oil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about chain case oil.
People put posts on Facebook daily.
Right.
Asking what they should put in their chain cases. And they will get answers, everything from automatic transmission fluid, that one I don't understand at all,
Isn't that stuff pretty runny?
It's very runny and it's a hydraulic fluid.
Yeah.
And people say that a lot.
Yeah.
To gear oil, which is way too heavy, and two-stroke oil, which isn't designed for chains.
Right.
And same with car engine oil. And every oil and grease they'll get told to put in there. But you can just go to the store and pick up a nice little bottle of chain case oil for about $14.
Which isn't very expensive.
No, and it might do your chain case twice.
Yeah.
And it's designed for low temperatures, extreme low temperatures.
Yeah.
And it's designed to protect gears and chains.
And stick to them.
It's 100% synthetic. And it's, I mean, like you said, talked about Canadian Tire. Canadian Tire probably has it. I stock it here all the time. This brand, or you can use anything, any kind of chain case oil, but just a real chain case oil.
So you mentioned gear oil. So one of the problems I see with gear oil is when it gets cold, it turns into molasses.
Yeah.
Problem you're going to run into with that is you're going to burn out a belt because it's harder to turn everything over. It takes a little longer for it to warm up. It may not actually do a very good job of properly covering your chain and gears, which means early wear.
Yeah, for sure.
So how often should you be checking your chain oil?
Check it every spring. Spring, yes.
Okay.
Check it every spring. Make sure it's clean. You could change it once a year for what it costs you for sure. I actually go 2 or 3 years beforehand, just making sure. If you check it, you know it's not leaking out. If you look on your dipstick, you can see if it's clean, and you can see how much filings and whatnot you have on your magnet.
Yeah, those little metal fuzzies.
Yeah, which you'll get some for sure. But if it's nice and clean, I run it for like 2 or 3 seasons. But a lot of places will say annually check it or change it.
So that's really a rider preference.
Yeah.
But if you're getting 2 changes out of 1 bottle, that's $7 a year.
Yeah.
And if you're getting, I mean, we could do the math all day.
And some of these chain cases with the reverse and stuff, there's a lot going on in there. You know, you don't want to just throw in the wrong oil. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't put the wrong oil in your car. You wouldn't put the wrong oil in your transmission of your car.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I
I don't
agree.
run ATF in my rear diff of my car.
So let me ask you, because I've got an older 95 Polaris Indy Trail, and that one's got the mechanical. You pull the lever, and it's moving gears inside the chain case.
Yeah.
So if I'm using the wrong oil, first off, we're trusting that the cable will pull it properly.
Yeah.
But if it's too thick,
It could hold it from engaging properly. You never, yeah.
or you could break a cable, or stretch a cable, or create yourself other grief that you wouldn't necessarily want to have when you're out riding.
Or just wear it right out because you're running the wrong oil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great product there, Steve. And really, I think that's it for today.
All right.
You know what? Snowmobiling is all about performance, and the best place to get your performance is from Performance Supply.
Thank you.